What if the most wholesome show in television history was hiding secrets that would shock its millions of fans? For 8 seasons starting in 1960, The Andy Griffith Show brought small-town charm into American living rooms. The fictional town of Mayberry, North Carolina became a place everyone wanted to live. Sheriff Andy Taylor kept the peace with wisdom and kindness. His bumbling deputy Barney Fife provided the laughs. Aunt Bee made sure everyone had a home-cooked meal. And little Opie learned life lessons that still resonate today. The show was pure comfort. Simple stories about good people in a simpler time, no violence, no controversy, just fishing trips and pie-eating contests and neighbors helping neighbors. But behind that perfect small-town image, things were far more complicated. The actors who brought Mayberry to life dealt with massive egos and crushing loneliness and bitter departures that left scars for decades. The most beloved deputy in TV history walked away at the height of his fame. The sweet lady who played Ellie Walker lasted only 1 season before fleeing. And Aunt Bee, the kindly woman who seemed like everyone's grandmother, was so difficult behind the scenes that cast members dreaded working with her. Today we are uncovering the real reasons these actors left the Andy Griffith Show, the heartbreak they carried, the fights they had, and how their departures changed one of the most iconic shows in television history. This is not just about a TV show. This is about the price of perfection and what happens when the fantasy crumbles. Before we dive into video, please subscribe to our channel. Before we dive into why people left, we need to understand what made the Andy Griffith Show so special in the first place. Andy Griffith was already famous when the show started. He had been a Broadway star and had a hit movie called A Face in the Crowd. In 1960, he appeared on an episode of The Danny Thomas Show playing a small-town sheriff. The character was so popular that CBS gave him his own series. Andy Griffith was not just the star, he was the boss. He had creative control over everything: the scripts, the casting, the tone. He wanted to create something different from other shows on TV. No laugh track, no shouting, no meanness, just gentle humor about decent people. The show was filmed in black and white on a backlot in Hollywood, but it felt real. The writers based many stories on their own small-town childhoods. Andy himself grew up in Mount Airy, North Carolina, which became the inspiration for Mayberry. The show attracted incredible talent. Don Knotts came from The Steve Allen Show, where he had perfected his nervous, twitchy comedy style. Frances Bavier was a stage actress with decades of experience. Young Ron Howard was only 6 years old when he started playing Opie. The chemistry was instant. Within months, The Andy Griffith Show was a top 10 hit. But that success came with pressure. Pressure to stay wholesome. Pressure to keep the magic alive. And pressure that eventually drove some of the most important cast members away. Don Knotts as Barney Fife was the heart and soul of The Andy Griffith Show. His portrayal of the overeager, self-important deputy with one bullet in his shirt pocket became one of the most beloved characters in TV history. Barney was insecure and boastful and completely incompetent, but also deeply lovable. His friendship with Andy was the emotional core of the show. The way Andy gently managed Barney's ego while protecting him from his own mistakes showed a kind of masculine friendship that American TV had never really seen before. Don Knotts won 5 Emmy Awards for playing Barney. 5. That is more than almost any other actor in a supporting comedy role. The show was at the peak of its popularity. Millions of fans tuned in every week specifically to see what Barney would do next. So when Don Knotts announced he was leaving after the 5th season in 1965, fans were absolutely devastated. Why would he walk away from such success? The answer is complicated. Don Knotts was offered a 5-year contract to stay on The Andy Griffith Show. That should have been a dream come true. Financial security, steady work, playing a character he loved, but Don had bigger ambitions. He wanted to be a movie star. Universal Pictures had offered him a multi-picture deal. They promised to make him the lead in comedy films. They saw his talent and wanted to build movies around him. It was an opportunity that might never come again. Don agonized over the decision. He loved working with Andy Griffith. They had become close friends. The show felt like family, but he was also afraid of being typecast. If he stayed as Barney Fife forever, would anyone ever see him as anything else? Andy Griffith told Don he supported whatever decision he made. But privately, Andy was hurt. He felt abandoned. The show was his creation and Barney was essential to making it work. Losing Don Knotts meant losing the magic that made the Andy Griffith Show special. Don left at the end of season 5 in 1965. His final episode as a regular cast member was emotional for everyone involved. The cast and crew knew they were losing something irreplaceable. Don went on to make movies like The Ghost and Mr. Chicken and The Reluctant Astronaut. Some were successful, others flopped, but none of them came close to the cultural impact of Barney Fife. By the early 1970s, Don realized he had made a mistake. Movie stardom had not worked out the way he hoped. He missed the steady work and the creative family of The Andy Griffith Show. He came back for guest appearances and eventually reunited with Andy for the show Matlock in the 1980s, but the damage was done. The Andy Griffith Show continued for 3 more seasons after Don left, but it was never the same. The ratings stayed strong, but the heart was gone. New characters were brought in to fill the gap, but none had the chemistry that Andy and Barney shared. Fans still watched, but they missed Barney. Everyone missed Barney. Don Knotts later admitted that leaving was the biggest professional mistake of his life. He had traded something real and meaningful for a shot at fame that never fully materialized. It is one of the great what-ifs in TV history. What could the Andy Griffith Show have been if Barney Fife had stayed? Frances Bavier played Aunt Bee, the warm, loving aunt who took care of Andy and Opie. She baked pies and gave advice and kept the Taylor household running smoothly. To millions of viewers, she was the perfect grandmother figure, sweet and patient and endlessly kind. But in real life, Frances Bavier was nothing like Aunt Bee. She was a classically trained stage actress who had spent decades performing in serious, dramatic roles on Broadway. She saw herself as a serious artist. Being known only as Aunt Bee frustrated her deeply. Frances was difficult to work with from the very beginning. She was particular about her lines. She complained about the scripts. She felt the writers did not give Aunt Bee enough depth or interesting things to do. She was probably right, but her constant complaints made her unpopular with the crew. She also did not get along with Andy Griffith. Their relationship was professional but cold. Andy was the boss and he did not appreciate being challenged. Frances thought he was controlling and egotistical. Andy thought she was ungrateful and pretentious. They rarely spoke off camera. Ron Howard, who played Opie, later said that Frances kept to herself on set. She did not socialize with the other actors. She ate lunch alone in her dressing room. She arrived exactly on time, did her scenes, and left immediately. There was no warmth or friendship behind the scenes. Despite her unhappiness, Frances stayed with the Andy Griffith Show for all 8 seasons. She was a professional and she honored her contract. But when the show ended in 1968, she was relieved. She moved to a small town in North Carolina, bought a house, and essentially retired from acting. She wanted to get as far away from Hollywood and Aunt Bee as possible. But the public would not let her go. Fans of the Andy Griffith Show loved Aunt Bee. When they found out where Frances lived, they started showing up at her house. They wanted autographs and photos. They wanted to talk about the show. They expected her to be warm and welcoming like Aunt Bee. Frances hated it. She became reclusive and bitter. She stopped answering the door. She yelled at fans who came to her property. The sweet woman from TV was nothing like the real Frances Bavier. In her final years, Frances admitted she had regrets. She wished she had been kinder to the cast and crew. She wished she had appreciated the show more while it was happening. She recognized that Aunt Bee had given her financial security and a legacy that would outlive her. But she also resented being defined by a character she never fully respected. Frances Bavier died in 1989 at age 86. She left most of her estate to the local police department in Siler City, North Carolina. Andy Griffith did not attend her funeral. Their relationship never recovered from the years of tension on set. It is sad that a woman who brought so much joy to audiences spent her final years isolated and angry. Aunt Bee lives on as a symbol of warmth and family, but the woman who played her never found peace with that role. Eleanor Donahue seemed like perfect casting when she joined the Andy Griffith Show in 1960. She played Ellie Walker, the town pharmacist and Andy's first girlfriend. Eleanor was already famous from playing Betty Anderson on Father Knows Best. She was pretty and talented and had great comic timing. The plan was for Ellie to be a regular character and eventually maybe even marry Andy. But something went wrong almost immediately. Eleanor felt uncomfortable on set from day one. The Andy Griffith Show had a very specific rhythm and style. It was low-key and subtle. Everett Hing was underplayed. Eleanor was used to a different kind of comedy, broader and more energetic. She could not find her footing. She also felt pressure trying to create chemistry with Andy Griffith. Andy was charming on screen, but he was all business off screen. He did not spend time helping her adjust or making her feel welcome. Eleanor felt lost and awkward. The writers were not helping either. They did not know what to do with Ellie Walker. Some episodes she was the sophisticated modern woman challenging small-town attitudes. Other episodes she was just a generic girlfriend. The character never came into focus. After just 1 season and only 12 episodes, Eleanor asked to be released from her contract. She later said it was a mutual decision. The producers could see it was not working. Andy was not fighting to keep her. Everyone agreed it was best if Ellie Walker quietly disappeared. No explanation was given on the show. Ellie was just gone. Viewers barely noticed because the show was still finding its identity. But for Eleanor, it was humiliating. She had failed on one of the biggest shows on television. She went on to have a long career in TV, appearing on dozens of shows. But she always felt she had let people down by leaving the Andy Griffith Show. Years later, she admitted that she had been dealing with anxiety and personal problems during that time. She was not in the right headspace to handle the pressure of a hit show. She wished she had given it more time. She wished the environment had been more supportive. But it was not meant to be. Howard McNear played Floyd the Barber, one of Mayberry's most memorable supporting characters. Floyd was the gossipy, absent-minded barber who gave terrible haircuts and talked endlessly. Howard brought Floyd to life with perfect timing and a distinctive voice. Floyd became so popular that he appeared in dozens of episodes throughout the show's run. But in 1963, tragedy struck. Howard McNear suffered a massive stroke. He was only 54 years old. The stroke left him partially paralyzed on his left side. He could barely walk, his speech was affected. For most actors, that would have been the end of their career, but Howard was determined to return to the Andy Griffith Show. Andy Griffith wanted him back too. Floyd was too important to lose, so the producers made accommodations. They built special supports to hold Howard up during scenes. They shot him mostly from certain angles to hide his paralysis. They gave him a stool to sit on in the barber shop. They rewrote scenes to minimize his physical movement. It was a massive effort, but everyone wanted to make it work. Howard returned to the show in 1964 and continued appearing until 1967. His performances were still wonderful even though you could tell he was struggling physically. But the strain was too much. His health continued to decline. Eventually, he had to stop. Howard McNear died in 1969, just 1 year after the Andy Griffith Show ended. He was only 63. His determination to keep working despite his disability showed incredible courage. The cast and crew loved him for it. Floyd the Barber remains one of the most quotable characters in Mayberry history thanks to Howard's dedication. The departures from the Andy Griffith Show reveal a harder truth about television. The perfection we see on screen often comes at a real cost to the people creating it. Don Knotts sacrificed the best role of his career chasing a dream that never quite materialized. Frances Bavier spent years playing a character she resented and ended her life bitter and alone. Elinor Donahue carried the shame of not being able to make it work. Howard McNear literally worked himself to death trying to keep doing what he loved. And Andy Griffith, the man at the center of it all, had to watch his creation change as people he depended on left one by one. The show continued and remained popular until it ended in 1968, still a top-rated program. Andy Griffith chose to end it while it was still successful. He did not want it to decline and fade away. He wanted to go out on top. The Andy Griffith Show lives on in endless reruns. New generations discover Mayberry and fall in love with its simplicity and warmth. The fishing trips, the front porch conversations, the gentle lessons about doing the right thing. But behind those comforting images were real human beings struggling with ego and ambition and regret. Don Knotts eventually made peace with his decision to leave, though he always wondered what might have been. Frances Bavier never did find peace with Aunt Bee. Elinor Donahue moved forward but carried the disappointment with her. Howard McNear gave everything he had until his body would not let him give any more. The legacy of the Andy Griffith Show is more complex than most people realize. It created a version of America that maybe never really existed. A place where problems were simple and people were good and everything worked out by the end of 30M. In Utes, that fantasy was beautiful and necessary, especially during the turbulent 1960s when America was changing rapidly. But maintaining that fantasy required sacrifice. It required people to subsume their own needs and desires for the good of the show. Some were willing to make that sacrifice. Others could not. The Andy Griffith Show was not really about Mayberry. It was about the people who created Mayberry and what they gave up to make it real for the rest of us. Don Knotts gave us the gift of Barney Fife even though it meant walking away from security. Frances Bavier gave us Aunt Bee even though she felt trapped by it. Elinor Donahue tried her best even though she was drowning. Howard McNear gave us Floyd until his body gave out. And Andy Griffith held it all together, becoming a symbol of American wholesomeness while dealing with all the messy human drama behind the scenes. Today, we remember the Andy Griffith Show with nostalgia and love. We remember the laughter and the lessons. We remember Mayberry as a place we wish we could visit. But we should also remember the real people who made it possible. The actors who left for reasons both professional and personal. The sacrifices they made, the regrets they carried, because the truth is that creating something beautiful often costs more than we can see. So what do you think? Was the magic of Mayberry worth what it cost the people who created it? Could Don Knotts have stayed and still found fulfillment? Could the show have been kinder to Frances Bavier? Should Elinor Donahue have been given more time and support? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And do not forget to like and subscribe for more stories about the real lives behind your favorite classic shows. We will keep bringing you the truth behind the laughter. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.